I was with Hayao Miyazaki on that day. The opening of his latest film. Already, record numbers of people had lined up at movie theaters across Japan. Ponyo on the cliff by the sea. 5-year-old Sosuke meets Ponyo, a fish with a human face, at the start of this fantasy film. This is a record of the 200 days leading up to its completion. It's summer 2007. There's less than a year until the movie's release. Production is in full swing. For this film, Miyazaki has decided not to use computer graphics. The animators must draw each image by hand. Creating 5 seconds worth of footage takes an entire week. It's slow, demanding work. Some artists are responsible for the backgrounds. Others design elements such as the color scheme. In all, the film's staff numbers 350 people. Miyazaki sits down with the animators. Miyazaki is referring to a scene where a fish-like creature called a suigyo appears. He gives instructions using hand gestures based on a storyboard that he drew himself. Miyazaki's passion for films never fails to impress his staff. The animators draw sketch after sketch, as if driven on by Miyazaki. With a critical eye, he checks every single image. If something doesn't meet his approval, he redraws it himself. This one's from an important scene when Ponyo and Sosuke are reunited. It doesn't fully express how Ponyo feels upon finally seeing him. Miyazaki starts to rework it. By curling Ponyo's foot and making the edge of Sosuke's jacket billow, Miyazaki captures her sheer joy. Revising images is significant to Miyazaki for another reason. Every Friday, Miyazaki gathers with his staff and checks the raw footage. A year earlier, Ponyo first bubbled up in Miyazaki's imagination. He had retreated to his private studio and was single-mindedly turning out sketches.
こうぐちゃぐちゃっていろいろ書いてあるけど、この中でこの子かなとかさ、分かんないんですよ。だからこれ映されてこれが次の作品だって言われたら困るんですよ。これ瓦解するかもしれないんですよ。
They included those of a girl he called Ponyo. Ponyo is based on a real child. Fuki, the daughter of one of his staff members. Her strong will, unusual in someone so young, appeals to Miyazaki.
Ponyoだよ、まさに。半魚人だ。
うちで未だにダメなんですよこれ。哺乳瓶持ってね、もう未だにやってんですよ。
At 1.5, Fuki gets upset unless her parents feed her with a bottle.
そんな半端な子じゃないんだって。大変な子なんですよ。近藤君の話で、フキの顔がやばい子になって。哺乳瓶持たないフキっていう。全くこしゃくな娘。
As Miyazaki listens to the story about Fuki, Ponyo the character begins to take shape. Ponyo tries to get just the ham, her favorite. Like a piranha, she snaps at a sandwich too. Miyazaki has a very distinctive way of making films. A so-called 3-meter radius of his daily life forms the basis for his stories. An example is My Neighbor Totoro. A rundown bus stop in Miyazaki's neighborhood became the starting point for this film. After a while, Miyazaki becomes concerned about something. Ponyo is selfish and a handful. He wonders whether she can get along with humans. Miyazaki has started drawing a storyboard. Ponyo meets a family that has fled a massive tsunami. She decides to share a sandwich with them. Ponyo starts doing all sorts of things in Miyazaki's imagination. She notices a baby that looks like it's in a bad mood. Suddenly, she starts squishing its cheeks. Miyazaki was born in Tokyo in 1941, the second son among 4 siblings. From early childhood, he often had digestive problems. His doctor said he wouldn't live to be 20. He was physically weak and was always the slowest runner. He was dogged by a sense of inferiority. When he was 6 years old, his mother, Yoshiko, suddenly fell ill. She had contracted spinal tuberculosis. It was incurable, and she had to be confined to bed. She used to be strong-minded and active, but now she couldn't even turn over. Miyazaki still remembers the time when he asked her to give him a piggyback ride. She cried and said she couldn't. He craved his mother's affection, but tried not to show it. Gradually, a certain feeling began to well up. He wished he hadn't been born. Ultimately, he found solace in manga cartoons. Whenever he had time, he'd draw. After graduating from university, he got a job at an animation studio. He started on his path as an animator. His exceptional talents soon became clear. His drawings seemed too good for a newcomer. They brimmed with imagination. At the animation studio, Miyazaki became a sensation.
想像力の豊かさに衝撃を受けたんだから、なんかすごい、この人は本当にすごいっていうのを私の中に植え付けた。
Miyazaki no longer felt inferior. He had found his place. He teamed up with director Isao Takahata. Together, they created one popular work of animation after the next. Deep in his heart, Miyazaki has always had a certain wish.
人に楽しんでもらいたいっていう意思なんだ。動機はね。なんで楽しんでもらいたいか。楽しんでもらえたら自分の存在が許されるんではないか。無用のものではなくて、というふうな抑圧が自分の中にあるからだ。それは幼児期に形成されたものがなんかあるんだろう。それは別に欲しくりたいとは思わない。僕はとにかく人に楽しんでもらうことが好きです。
Miyazaki made his directorial debut at the age of 38. Lupin III, The Castle of Cagliostro. The film's innovative action sequences won critical acclaim. But after its release, Miyazaki noticed that movie theaters had many empty seats. At the time, films like Space Battleship Yamato were fueling a science fiction boom. For Miyazaki, requests to direct movies dried up. Yet he continued to come up with ideas and tried selling them to TV stations and other outlets. In a period piece called Princess Mononoke, a big mountain cat falls in love with a human princess. My Neighbor Totoro is about a friendship between two little girls and a monster living in the woods. A flying castle appears in Sengoku Majo. All of these proposals were rejected back then. Behind his back, Miyazaki was criticized. People said his ideas are outdated and won't produce any hits. People in the film industry wouldn't give him the time of day. To make ends meet, he worked on animation for TV, and he continued to submit film proposals. He felt that, unless he could entertain people, life had no meaning. It was at around that time that the editor of an animation magazine came to see Miyazaki. He would go on to become Miyazaki's longtime collaborator as a producer. His name is Toshio Suzuki. He invited Miyazaki to create a serial manga piece for the magazine. Suzuki's enthusiasm convinced Miyazaki to do it, though reluctantly. The main character is named Nausicaa. She's a girl who has killed people and is emotionally scarred. A year after the series started, Suzuki made a surprising suggestion. Why not turn the manga into a movie? Miyazaki thought this would be his last opportunity. He agreed to direct the film and started production. Soon after, he received sad news. His mother, Yoshiko, had passed away. She struggled with illness for much of her life and died at 72. Miyazaki wasn't able to be with her in her final moments. He didn't cry in front of other people, but someone said that when he was alone with her remains, his shoulders shook with sobs. Miyazaki was more determined than ever. He poured heart and soul into making the film to entertain people. He was 43 years old when Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind was released. Nausicaa tries to live a strong life, not giving in to fate. Audiences keenly identified with her. The film was Miyazaki's first major hit. If his mother had lived, surely she would have been happier than anyone. After that, Miyazaki continued to include characters inspired by his mother in his movies. An air pirate named Dola appears in Castle in the Sky. She's a bit like his mother, who was once lively and spirited in a manly sort of way. The mother in My Neighbor Totoro watches over her children while battling an illness. Miyazaki says Sophie in Howl's Moving Castle is a reflection of his mother, who was both strong-minded and kind. The production of Ponyo on the Cliff by the Sea is entering the home stretch. Animators complete image after image. But Miyazaki's checks aren't keeping up with the pace. He can handle about 1/5 of the workload he used to when he was young. He's tired and the drawings are starting to pile up. He's even further behind on the storyboards. He'd stopped at a scene in the second half where Sosuke and Ponyo go on a journey.
これ戻ってきた。
そうなんです。原画はこれが
誰が悪いじゃなくて、こうなんとかしなきゃいけないからなんとかしなさいよ。
大丈夫です。
なんとかすればいいの。
Since morning, Miyazaki has been irritable.
奥山さんが亡くなったんですよ。
An animator who was about a decade older has passed away.
ちょっとショックだったでしょ。うちの女房にもちょうど手紙が届いたらしくてね。
The two had worked together creating movies.
僕も最初ショックが来たんだけど、なんかこの人は絶対俺より後だろうと思う人がパッていなくなると。
そうでしょ。
俺はもう周り中口の歯をかけたようだから。なんか地球最後の日だね。
あ、すごいね、綺麗だね。本当だね、すごい。すごいすごい。あ、すごい綺麗だね。上から見て綺麗だね。
ああ、死んじゃうと夕焼けも見られないね。
絵コンテがちょっと進んだんですか。
最後の難問があるんで、わさびが足りない。ストーリーをなぞっていっただけがダメなんだ。もうストーリーはもうとっくの昔に決まったんだから。
Miyazaki can't come up with any good ideas. Time just keeps passing by.
ああ、めんどくさい、めんどくさい、まためんどくさい。
よろしくお願いします。
To ease his fatigue, Miyazaki starts having weekly massages.
なんででしょう。飲んでほしいですね。
何も少ないでしょ。
ずっと座りっぱなしですか。
いや、今はもう昔に比べたらもう3分の1も座ってないし、
3分の1座ってないですか。
もう持たないから
どこが。
全体がやる気がなくなっちゃうっていうか、もうこれじゃなくても仕事がまとまらないんですよね。あんまり要するに先時間ないなっていうことだからね。
なんで時間ない時間ない。
時間ないっていうのはだからそういうもんだなと思うようになったの。
Miyazaki seems to have lost confidence. He starts talking about someone.
なんとなく会えるんだろうと思ってますよ。おふくろに会うんだったらこう一番おふくろが可愛い時に会いたいなと。
His mother has been gone for 25 years. For this movie, Miyazaki again created a character modeled after her. It's an old woman who spends her days in a wheelchair. Her name is Toki.
ダメなテレビだね。気象台もだらしないよ。天気予報がちっとも当たらないじゃないか。
She's lonely and can't help giving people around her a hard time.
くしゃくしゃだね。なんだいこれ。こうだよ。
Miyazaki seems stuck, unable to decide on the role that Toki should play toward the end of the story.
お疲れ様です。
It's now autumn, but he still hasn't made much progress on the storyboards. The group managing the production schedule calls an urgent meeting.
これじゃできません。
やっぱりちょっと後半のスケジュールを考えると、
The lack of progress on the storyboards is causing serious delays in the overall production.
なんですけど、それはどんどん首が締まってきているので、
なんかね。
じゃあ今月の下旬ぐらいには一度絵コンテを出してもらえる。それは私です。
All day, Miyazaki has been referring to a certain notebook. It's his secret treasure trove of ideas for movies.
理屈で書くと膨大に書けるけど全部外す。5歳の子供とかあんま意味がない。つまんないおじさんたちの理屈のために書いてもしまう。
どうもありがとうございました。
悪いよ。
お疲れ様です。
なんかね早く書きたくないですよね多分。ギリギリのとこまで自分も分からなかった。自分の頭ではなんていうの思いつかないのにつかないようなこと、そういうシーンに自分が出会いたいんですよ。多分ね。昨日久井さんに「聞いてくれましたか?」って言われて「あまだ聞いてなかったもんやばい」。
Miyazaki turns on music written by Joe Hisaishi, the composer for most of his movies.
この歌ちゃんと聞くの初めてだ。
The song conveys the thoughts and feelings of Toki and others who are nearing the end of their lives. He listens to it again and again. When his mother passed away, he felt she had finally been freed from her struggle.
心に対する気持ちというのは僕はほどいてないね。どうすればおふくろはもっと生き生きと生きられたんだろうと時々思ったりする。病気がちってのはあったかもしれないけど、病気がちにもかかわらず生き生き生きるにはどうしたらいいんだろう。
Miyazaki has started drawing a storyboard. A mysterious person appears in front of Sosuke. To protect Ponyo, who's in a bucket, Sosuke starts running away. Toki cries out to him. She appears to save the boy. But then, Miyazaki stops, unable to go further. He can't figure out how to depict his mother. Six days have passed, still no progress. He grabs pictures of Toki the animators have drawn. Toki is talking with Sosuke. Miyazaki tries drawing different lines as he imagines Toki's feelings. Because of her illness, Miyazaki's mother couldn't even hug her children. In her later years, she also had difficulty walking.
がないよ映画ってどんなに隠蔽して作っても自分がイメージしながらないだろうだから本当にあることを書いてるんですよ書いてるつもりでやらなきゃダメなんですよ
Miyazaki returns to his storyboard. Sosuke starts running toward Toki. When she sees him,
また歩くんだけどこの人本当は歩けた
Toki isn't supposed to be able to walk, but she's so worried about Sosuke that she stands up without thinking. She calls his name again. The next day. As she sees Sosuke, what will Toki do? What does he want her to do? Toki starts running. She dashes down the stairs. And she cries out, "Sosuke, come here." The following day, at the studio, the staff is winding down for the year. But Miyazaki starts on the storyboard from where he'd left off. Sosuke hears Toki say, "Come here." He leaps toward her. Miyazaki's pencil starts moving faster. Toki catches Sosuke head-on in her arms. It's as if Miyazaki's own mother has embraced him. Ponyo on the Cliff by the Sea was completed in June 2008.
Stop.